So first we'll do Jai Radha Mother first, and then we'll start today's discussion. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada श्री श्री राधा माधव भगवान की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय श्री श्री गौरताय की जय शिला प्रभुपाद की जय दाय गोप वंदे हरि हरि बोल सौत भक्त बिंद की जय श्रीमद् भागवत गीता की जय Okay, so today we are going to discuss um, Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter and 33rd verse. Then if we get time, then we'll discuss 34 also. ॐ नमः भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमः भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमः भगवते वासुदेवाय। किं पुनर्ब्रह्मणः पुण्य भक्त्या राजसस्तथा अनित्यं सुखं लोकम् इमं प्रप्य भजस्वमम्। किं पुनर्ब्रह्मणः पुण्य भक्त्या राजर्षयस्तथा अनित्यं सुखं लोकम् इमं प्रप्य भजस्वमम्. Mataji, you can chant this verse and then you can move on to the translation.
Your permission. किं पुनर्ब्रह्मणा पुण्य भक्ता रजर्षयस्तथा अनित्यम् असुखं लोकम् इमं प्रप्याभजस्वमम्.
Translation पढ़िए.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me.
Purport.
Purport. In this material world, there are classifications of people. But after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, Anityam Asukham Lokam. This world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, say that this world is false. But we can understand from Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false, it is temporary. There is a difference between temporary and false. This world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
ॐ अज्ञानं तिमिरन्धस्य गरञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति सोपदान्तिकम्. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथन्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कंत राधाकंत नमस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नितिरमिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे. Hare Krishna. So the verse is Kim Punar Brahmana Punya Bhaktya Rajashestatha Palittam Asukham Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajassa Yam. So here this verse is coming after 932, and in 932 Krishna already have talked about the lower birds, or the birds in which the advantages are lesser, or the facilities for mm, Krishna bhajan is little bit compromised, or lesser. For example, a Brahmana who have, I mean, who is by birth Brahmana. In the sense, I'm not saying that just by taking birth in the Brahmana family, one becomes Brahman. Not that, but if somebody takes birth in the Brahmana family, that person may have more chances of devotional service. And what to talk about taking birth in the family of a devotee. So opportunities are there, facilities are there. For example, if somebody has taken birth in uh, Srimatam, as we mentioned, or like in a businessman's house, then what will happen? They will have lesser problem from financial perspective. Mm. So like that. So facilities will be more as one will get higher and higher birth. For birth in the female body, one may have lesser facilities. Obviously, one cannot go in the forest and do meditation. This is not recommended for uh, females, like that. But once one becomes devotee, one becomes more Krishna conscious, then one gradually comes out of that bodily consciousness, and one moves towards spiritual consciousness. And then those things will matter lesser and lesser. Though from practical perspective, still some distance are maintained. Like two Prabhujis getting along, just talking like a friend. It's not like when a Prabhuji and Mataji are there, they are very elevated. They, just get along within the same way, considering that we don't have any bodily consciousness. No, some practical distance still it is maintained for safety and for preserving proper consciousness, like that. So this is anyway just a one side conversation, just to make it clear. Now, this world, the Mayavadis will called mithya, but this is not a mithya. This is real world, even though it's a temporary world. So, how we can understand the temporariness versus realness? For example, Mayavadis, as per their logic, they may say, let's say there is a wall in front of them. They will say, everything is mithya. Mm. Then this wall is also mithya. In fact, you don't need any door, because why the door is needed? Door is needed to go through that wall. But as you say, this is mithya, that means this wall doesn't exist in front of you. So you don't need a separate door. You can just walk through the wall, which is not possible. Similarly, Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, they say. This Brahma is Satya, and this Jagat is Mithya. So if that is the case, this statement, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, this statement is created by placing some words which are like material, you can say, some words, letters and all. So that way you construct this sentence, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. So these words and sentence and then sound vibration, these are of this material world. Then that is also Mithya. So that means I cannot even tell that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. If that is true, that I cannot even tell because this sentence itself is Mithya. Hmm, that's the point. So this can be resolved by this proper conclusion that this material world is temporary, but it is real. It is temporary, it's real. Only thing is, it is so temporary that if we see something today and tomorrow it is placed somewhere else, or if it doesn't exist, then we tend to say, oh, this is not real. It just comes and goes. From that perspective, one may say, but the point is still it is real for the time for which it is there. So this Jagat is real, but temporary. So now the point is whether this place is a happy place or a miserable place. So Krishna already have spoken that this is a dukhalayam ashashvatam. In the last chapter, Krishna already have said that this is a temporary place of misery. And using different words, the same thing is spoken over here. Anityam, this is a temporary place. Nitya means eternal. This is Anityam means this is temporary. Asukham, and this is a place of misery. So as it is mentioned before, dukhalayam ashashvatam, same thing here. Anityam asukham lokam. So we are in this temporary place of misery anyway. So rather better it is for us to not get attached to this temporary place of misery and strive to go back to Godhead. That is our real home where we came from. So we should go back to that real home. And the encouragement given over here is that, as it is mentioned in the previous verse, that for lower birth, also devotional service is very much important and effective. Then what to talk about the higher births of Brahmanas and devotees, saintly kings, Rajars? If it is beneficial for those lower birth people also, then what to talk about those advanced people, Brahmanas, devotees, and saintly kings? They definitely can get benefit out of it. So that's the point over here in this particular verse. So we should strive for engaging in the devotional service of Lord, because these Brahmanas and devotees and saintly kings, they are engaged in the devotional service of Lord. And by doing so, they can progress very nicely in the path of devotional service and back to Godhead. Now, as we have said, this is Anityam Asukham Lokam, temporary place and full with miseries, and not habitable for any sane gentleman. Oh, wait a minute. What does it mean? That am I not a gentleman or I am not a gentle lady? What does it mean? Uh, well, all of a sudden, this word or this sentence looks like, what is this? Not habitable for any sane gentleman. Now, there are many places in this world, uh, we can easily say this place is not meant for a gentleman. Like there are a lot of trickery, a lot of bad, unsocial people are there, antisocial people are there, a lot of sinful activities are there. So we say that this place is not good for any gentleman. Now we think that this place is actually okay. A lot of things are going on. We can see people are wearing coat, pant, and all, looking like a gentleman and talking in a gentle way, this and that. So what's the harm? I'm also a gentleman, so I can stay here. There are many other gentlemen. The point is, the reference point is the pure transcendental consciousness, which is lacking in this material world. And people have those lower feelings, lower mindset. They have six enemies: Kam, Krodh, Lava, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Shadaripu. Those are constantly pulling them down. So if they are trying to act like they are very gentlemen, and if they are not devotee, then those good qualities may not last very long, and they will show their true color. So from that perspective, this is not a gentleman's place. Sometimes we see that very on our face, that people are not gentle, or you know situations are not favorable. And on top of that, when situations becomes not favorable, a lot of people who may look like gentle, they cease to become gentle. Then they will start showing their color. And on top of that, there are many miseries: adi devi, adi bhautik, adhyatik miseries are there: birth, death, old age, disease. So all those things are constantly troubling us. Even if we think about those, it can create a lot of trouble. And all those uh, discomforts or miseries are absent in the spiritual world. And therefore, people can have uninterrupted engagement in devotional service. And that is real gentleness. That we cannot do in most of the cases in the material world. Those who are already liberated, Jivan Mukta, they're a little bit different, because Jivan Mukta means even though they are in this material world, they are kind of liberated. Still, their body may go through pain and all, but they may have the power to withstand that. So that is different. But still, in this material world, you can expect all those calamities and all. Uh, so this world is declared by Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, say that this world is false. But we can understand from Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false. It is temporary. And there's a difference between temporary and false we discussed. But there is another world, the world which is not miserable. That is spiritual world. This is eternal and blissful. And Krishna says, Na tad vashyati surya, na shashanka na pavaka. And then he says, Jasmin gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam. So this material world is a dark place. That's why we need sun and moon to illuminate this material world. But when you talk about the spiritual world, there is no need for sun, moon, or electricity, or fire, anything. Because the spiritual world is illuminated by the bodily ray of Krishna. And on top of that, what Krishna is saying, the characteristic of spiritual world is that Jasmin Katvana Nivartante Tad Dhama Paramam. That is the eternal abode of Lord. And once we go there, we don't come back from there. We go, this is one-way ticket. Once you go there, we don't come back. Now, Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. So to him also the Lord says, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Same thing Krishna told Uddhava, his dearest devotee outside of Vrindavan. And Uddhava is another cousin, like Arjuna was cousin of Krishna from maternal side. From paternal side, Uddhava was another cousin. And to Uddhava, Krishna gave the knowledge of Uddhav Gita. So Krishna told Uddhava also that this is a very uh, miserable place, this material world, and you should try to come back quickly to the spiritual world. So those who are approved by Lord, those who are elevated devotees, and those who are approved by Lord, they go back to Godhead immediately. Like Lord Ramchandra, when he was winding up his Leela, all the Ayodhya went along with him. But when Lord gives some service, even somebody may be liberated, but Lord may give some service to them, and Lord would insist that they should stay in this material world for some time. Then those devotees, even though they are liberated, they stay back. Like Hanumanji, he, by the instruction of Lord Ramchandra, is staying back. There are other monkeys also, like Mahinda, Devida, they stayed back. Jambaman also was there. So, like that. Uddhava was in Krishna's pastime. Uddhava was like that. He also stayed back because Lord Krishna gave some service to him so that he should carry the message of Krishna and go to Badrinath and spread his message to them. So Lord Krishna didn't go to Badrinath, so that's why he gave this service to Uddhava that on his behalf he should spread this message to the devotees in Badrinath. So Krishna told him that, once as soon as you finish your service, you come back very quickly. Don't stay here for long. So everyone should attach himself to the bosom of Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. Everybody being part and parcel of Krishna would like to be eternally happy. But the point is, we don't know where to search for happiness. And as a result, we end up searching in the wrong place. This material world is not the place where we should be searching for our happiness. For example, if somebody is going to jail, somebody may have some distorted intelligence and they may think that, oh, here, if I make this stay in the jail a little bit more comfortable, then I keep on staying over here for the entire life. I don't have any problem. So that person may not even think about um, rectifying himself or herself in the jail, uh, getting corrected and all. Rather, that person may think about how can I stay here happily with some additional facilities and all. So that's what we are also doing in this material world. This material world is like a jail. This is temporary place of misery. But we're trying to make our stay more and more comfortable in this material world. So trying to make our life more comfortable, that's not the goal, ultimate goal of our life. Our ultimate goal of life is Prema Pumartha Mahan, to develop love of Godhead. And when you develop love of Godhead, as a byproduct, when Krishna wants, we may go back to Godhead. That's not a problem. But developing love of Godhead is the ultimate goal. And through that process, we can be eternally happy. Otherwise, if we try to become happy artificially in this material world, this won't work. This kind of material happiness is illusory. It ends up becoming the source of misery for us. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness, make his life perfect. It's very simple to understand that when we have a common ground, it is easier to connect and we can resolve problems easily. For example, let's say we have a family and we have five, six family members. We are from the same family. If we give that understanding to the family members that we should be maintaining unity in the family, we should not be fighting with each other. So that way, because we are in the same family, we may have some unity or we may feel that bodily connection. Similarly, we may say, I love all the people in my city. Mm. And when there is a competition between the two cities in some game or so, we will definitely support our city because I have bodily connection. And that way, I won't care if other team will lose or so. So that way, due to bodily connection, we find that something we should uh, support and something we may not support or we should not support because this is alien. This is not my party or something like that. So every time we'll find like that. Okay, my country is better than the other country, like that. Or we may say our universe is better than the other universe. We may change context like anything. Just 1 minute back, I might have been talking about my country is better than your country. But now, when there is a comparison between two universes, I may pull you also in my party and say, our universe is better than the other universe, like that. So it's a matter of how you group people or living entities. So when you have a superset, then the subsets coming under that you can take care of nicely. But ultimate superset is that we are eternal servant of Krishna. We are part and parcel of Krishna. So when we come to that consciousness, then we can love the whole universe in a universal way. That is called universal brotherhood. And that can happen through devotional service only. We have seen in ISKCON also that where people of different caste, creed, race, different nationality, they come together and then chant, dance without any discrimination. Hmm. And they pass their time very happily. They feel the connection with each other with so much of differences, so much of varieties. So in devotional service, that kind of unity is possible. All classes of men can participate in that. And therefore, everyone should take up Krishna consciousness in this life to perfect this life. There is no alternative. So that is the case for these words that even though the lower birth, people with lower birth can have benefit from devotional service, because this is for everybody. What to talk about the people of higher birth, Brahmana and saintly kings and um, devotees, they definitely can get greater benefit by engaging in devotional service. Then we come to the 34th verse, which is very, very important. We'll discuss why it is important now. Manmana bhavamad bhakto majja jivam namaskaro mam evashyasi yuktajyam yatmanam matparayana manmana bhavamad bhakto majja jivam namaskaro mam evashyasi yuktajyam atmanam matparayana. Mataji, you can chant this verse.
Sure, Prabhuji. मन्मना भाव मद्भक्तो मद्यजी मां नमस्कुरु माम् एवास्वसि युक्त्वैवम् आत्मानं मत्परायण. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me surely will come to me. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of the contaminated material world. Sometimes, unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. His body, his mind, and he himself are one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhashya comments on Chaitanya Charitamrita, 5th chapter, Adi Leela verses 41 to 48. Deha dehi vibhedo yam nisvare vidyate kvachit. It This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because the commentators do not know this science of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men, some men make profit out of misleading people. There are some who are demoniac. They also think of Krishna but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. He was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. He was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise, from the wrong source, will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna. With conviction in his heart that Krishna is the supreme, he should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. The 7th and 8th chapters of Bhagavad Gita have explained pure devotional service to the Lord that is free from speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. There is a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. The devotee, in the beginning, may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be a perfectly saintly person. His accidental, non devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports to the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the most confidential knowledge.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So here in the 34th verse or the last verse of 9th chapter, Krishna is giving the most confidential knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So as we discussed, Bhagavad Gita has 3 parts. First six chapters we have Karma Yoga. The last six chapters we have Jnana Yoga, and in the middle six chapters Bhakti Yoga. And out of that, ninth and tenth chapter is total in the middle of Bhagavad Gita, which has most confidential knowledge. And out of that, right in the beginning, right in the end of ninth chapter, this 34th verse is in the center of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is giving the most confidential knowledge. And it is also very, very important. That's why this is repeated in the 65th verse of 18th chapter. So, in the 18th chapter, 64th verse, Krishna mentions that this most confidential knowledge I am going to give you again. And then he talks about the 65th verse, where these first two lines are there and the second two lines are different. Manmana bhava mad bhakta mad jaji mam namaskuru. These two lines are there in the 65th verse of 18th chapter also. And then Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja aham tam sarva papebhya mokshasya masaju. That is the 66th verse. So, which one is the charam shloka or ultimate shloka? So basically, both of the two verses, 65th and 66th verse in 18th chapter, both are ultimate charam shlokas. Now that charam shloka, 65th verse is repeated or first I mentioned over here. So in this chapter, Krishna talks about the glories of devotional service. How devotional service can deliver anybody, even somebody may be lower birth. Devotional service can rescue somebody if somebody has done something abominable, and very quickly one can get reinstated to the original position. And devotional service can please the Lord very easily. And it is very difficult to please the demigods like that. So there are many, many susukam, kartum, abhyam, all those characteristics of devotional service are mentioned in the beginning of this chapter. Now, after establishing the glories of devotional service to the extent like convincing us about devotional service, in this particular verse, Krishna is telling the components of devotional service. Just like in the 66th verse of 18th chapter, Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. So only one should take shelter of Krishna, as it is mentioned in the 66th verse of 18th chapter. And in the 65th verse, he talks about the components of that surrender. So those components, same components are mentioned over here also. Four things Krishna talks about. What are those four things? Manmana, bhava mad bhakta, mad jaji, mam namaskaru. What are those four things? He is saying, engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. So these four things we need to do. And if we do these four things, what will happen? Being completely absorbed in me, surely will come to me. And that's what we want. We want to go back to Krishna. So Krishna is saying, be absorbed in me and do all these four things. And surely will come to me. So here it is mentioned, Manmana Bhava Bhakta. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. So when we do our activities, we at times forget about Krishna. Especially when we are doing anything mundane stuff, or like when we cannot connect to Krishna, we often tend to forget Krishna. And when we are engaged in devotional service also, at times we take that as a chore, daily chores, and we tend to forget Krishna. And that is not good. We should always try to remember Krishna. So that is very important. Always think of Krishna. Smartavyam satadam Vishnu, vismartavyam na jatochit. Sarva vidhi nishedasya etareva kinkara. So always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That is the ultimate instruction of all Vedic literature. So here the same thing Krishna is saying, your mind, engage your mind always in thinking of me. And then Krishna says that become my devotee. So why this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita Krishna is giving to Arjuna? Because he said earlier in the fourth chapter, Bhakta asime sakha chaiti. You are my devotee and you are my friend. That's why I'm giving this knowledge to you. So we should be also devotee of Krishna and we should be disposed towards him in a friendly way. Friendly way is not like the sakharas of Arjuna we need to develop. That's not the point. We should not be uh, inimical towards him and we should be very friendly disposed towards him. That's the point. There are many demons also. We are very inimically disposed towards Krishna and in an inimical way, like Shishupal, Kamsa. Kamsa was, always thinking about Krishna, but in a fearful way. Shishupal was thinking about Krishna in an envious way. But because of constant remembrance of Krishna, they were delivered. But we cannot say that is bhakti. Because for bhakti, we need to remember Krishna in a favorable way, not in an unfavorable way. Anukulleshya, uh, Anukulleshya Krishna, Anushilanam. In a favorable way, we should engage in devotional service. So that is very, very important. We should be favorable towards Krishna. Then offer obeisances to me. We should offer obeisances to Krishna and his devotees also. That is as good as, I mean, all the tadiyas. Tadiyas means whatever is engaged in devotional service of Krishna. All are tadiyas. So we should offer obeisances to all the tadiyas. And wherever we see connection to Krishna, like the devotees, they consider the living entities of Dham very elevated, and they may offer obeisances to the Dhambasi living entity. I was seeing recently in one post, Shivram Maharaj, he was offering prostrated obeisances to the dog in Mayapur because it's a Dhambasi dog, very, very special dog. So he was offering obeisances to that dog. That way, devotees practice Trinadapi Sunichana Taranapi Shahishna, Amanina Maradana Kirtane Sadhari. So that humility is very, very important for us to go back to Godhead. And advanced devotees are showing through their example uh, how we should develop those um, qualities. So offering obeisances, it's very, very important. So we say namaha, right? Mah, jo, the word is that is aham mamiti, right? Aham mamiti means me, myself. So it's like all false ego. Mah, that is false ego. Na maha means uh, we're negating that false ego by offering obeisances. So that's why offering obeisances is very, very important in devotional life. And we have all the prayers, Vedic prayers and all. Everywhere we keep on finding offering obeisances. Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami in the Brahma Samhita. It keeps on coming as refrain. So offering obeisances to Lord. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. So everywhere we say, see this presence of offering obeisances to Krishna and his devotees, which is very, very important for us to progress in our spiritual life. Our previous acharyas like Raghunath Das Goswami and their other Goswamis, they used to offer obeisances to the Lord and his devotees in a certain number every day. Sankhapurva. Like if they would offer obeisances, Raghunath Das Goswami, if you would offer obeisances to Krishna 1,000 times, then you will offer obeisances 2,000 times to other devotees per day. It's unbelievable how it is possible, but they used to do. So offer obeisances to me and then just worship me. Worship me means we should worship Krishna only, not other demigods and all. He needs exclusive attention. So we should worship him. If we worship other demigods, so Krishna is saying they are worshipping me only, but they are doing that in a avidhi purvakam way. Hmm. So therefore it doesn't yield much value. And that way, when somebody is totally absorbed in Krishna, then one will attain Krishna. One will go back to Krishna. So in this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. There, we don't have any other means to get delivered. So Krishna consciousness is the only means to come out of this material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So devotional service is exclusively meant for pleasing Krishna. That should not be, excuse me, performed for pleasing any other demigods and all. Naradmuni in his form of Upabarhana, a Gandharva, he was cursed by the demigods to become a son of Shudra because he was initially glorifying Lord Vishnu, but then he drifted away and started glorifying the demigods. And then he was cursed to come as the son of a maidservant. So there are repercussions if somebody is engaged in worship of the demigods. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that is avidhi. They are actually worshipping me only. They are less intelligent if they are worshipping demigods. And when they worship demigods, they are actually indirectly worshipping me only, but they are doing that worship in a avidhi varpakam way. This is not properly approved by Lord. So this is avidhi purvakam. Now, the unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the readers to that which is not at all visible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. So some commentators will say, when Krishna says surrender to me, actually Krishna didn't say surrender to me. He said surrender to that unborn supreme Brahman who is there in Krishna. So that way they actually use word jugglery, and that way people get deprived. So Krishna's body, mind, words, all are transcendental. There is no difference. So such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. So we tend to bring everybody at our level, which is not good. And because of that, we end up in the receiving end. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is absolute truth. Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjay. Mai sarvamidam protam sutre maniganiyava. There is no truth superior to Krishna. He is the absolute truth. His body, his mind, and he himself are one and absolute. No difference. All are same. All are of absolute category. So it is stated in the Kurva Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in Anuvarsa commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is that? Deha dehi vivedo ayam anishara vidyate kachit. Nashare vidyate kachit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna and Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. So there is no difference between Krishna and Krishna's body. Deha dehi deha dehi vivedya ayam nashare nashare vidyate kashya. There is no difference in the deha and dehi. But because the commentators do not know this science of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is a sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading people. So there are people who make story out of it. Krishna is this, Krishna is that, or if it is not Krishna, actually Brahman is the supreme. That way they make stories and they mislead people. There are some demonic people also, and they have envious uh, disposition towards Krishna. Kamsa had it, even though he was uncle of Krishna. So out of fear, he was thinking about Krishna always. And Rupa Goswami said that if somebody is trying to remember Krishna in an inimical mode, they can remember Krishna more than when somebody is a devotee of Krishna. But that doesn't mean that we should have disposition, inimical disposition towards Krishna. That's not the point. But the point is, absorption of mind is easier when somebody is looking into negative things only. That's the case. So, as we discussed, Kamsa and Shishupal also got delivered uh, with their animosity towards Krishna, but that's not desirable for devotees. We don't want to be inimical towards Krishna. We want to be in a friendly, devotional way exposed towards or disposed towards Krishna. So he was always in anxiety. Kamsa was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna will come to kill him. He was in fear. That kind of thinking will not help us. So if you develop that fear, it's not going to help us. Devotional service done in the fear is the mode of ignorance. Mm. And when devotional service is done for making some profit and all, labh, puja, pratishtha, then this is like profit, adoration, and distinction. So in that case, that is called devotional service in mode of passion. And if somebody is performing devotional service in a very diligent way regularly, thinking I need to do this, this is my duty, then it is mode of goodness. But what is expected from us is to become transcendental. We should be situated in the transcendental mode. So thinking in an inimical way won't help, and that is not called bhakti. So one should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is called bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Who is Krishna? What are the forms of Krishna? What are the activities of Krishna? Uh, how Krishna processes things. It is mentioned in some revealed scriptures. So we can meditate on that also. So we should get this knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation. Krishna Anushilanam, that is cultivation. So it is to learn from a bona fide teacher. It is not like any from anywhere we'll pick up any book and we'll start reading and understanding. No, we need a bona fide teacher for that purpose. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge, full of knowledge basically. So he is Satchidananda. His body is filled with eternality, blissfulness, and knowledge. And this kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. That is knowledge about Krishna. If we have that, it will help us to become devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise from the wrong source will prove fruitless. It will become fruitless. So we should not hear from wrong source. We should hear from bona fide source. Uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned us again and again that we should not hear from non-devotees, we should not hear from Mayavadis. If we really want to protect our devotional engagement, if we want to maintain our consciousness, then we should not um, hear from Mayavadis, we should not hear from non-devotees, even though it may look like palatable Krishna Katha, but still, it's like Sarpachishta Yathapayam, like a snake has touched the milk, then that milk is not done. That is a waste because the serpent has touched that. Even though the color may look the same, so but still it is poisonous, considered poisonous. So therefore, as Sanatana Goswami also says that Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam. This kind of non-devotees, Mayavadis, from them we should not hear Krishna Katha, even though it is Krishna Katha, which is very, very auspicious. Still, we should not hear from non-devotees or Mayavadis. Then, the seventh and eighth chapter of Bhagavad Gita have explained pure devotional service to the Lord that is free from speculative knowledge. So, pure devotional service should be Anna Avilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anamritam. So, we should not have any ulterior desire other than engagement in devotional service, and it should be free from speculative knowledge and fruitive activity. And we should cultivate Krishna consciousness. Then it is called pure devotional service. So, we talked about, Krishna talked about this in the seventh and eighth chapter. Pure devotional service to the Lord is free from speculative knowledge, mystic, yoga, and fruitive activities. And those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee is directly taken to the service of the Supreme Lord. So, as we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vadanti tas tattavidam tatta jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaneti shabdayate. So, that non-dual absolute truth has three features. One is Brahman, then next is localized Paramatma, and third is Bhagavan. Now, Brahman realization is um, the lowest realization, then Paramatma, then Bhagavan. The completeness is missing in Brahman realization. It becomes more complete in localized Paramatma realization, and it becomes most complete in the Bhagavan realization. So devotees are always worshipping Bhagavan. They are not interested about Brahman, impersonal Brahman. They are not interested in that. They are always worshipping Bhagavan. So there is a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve any time the supreme award of Krishna. So one should understand that as Krishna says that Mam Ekam Sharanam Brajo, one should only worship Krishna exclusively. And that should not be like, okay, in case Krishna forgets to entertain me, I have some backup plans also. Therefore, I should worship some demigods also. That's not the case. That's not the case. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers, yogis. So in devotional service, there are some ups and downs. It will continue, but still they're superior to the philosophers and yogis because philosophers and yogis, you never know how many lifetimes they will take to come back to the path of devotional service. So that way, if somebody is a devotee, they are already very, very elevated and very, very fortunate. It is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Asanta Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataiva Shanta. So those who are bhukti kami, they want some material profit, material gain. And then there are mukti kami, those who want liberation. Hmm. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami. Then there are some people who want some perfection, mystic perfection. And they're restless. And they are asking these material things from Krishna. And they are very restless. But Krishna Bhakta is nishkam. They don't have that restlessness. Why? Because they're happy in serving Lord. That's why they're peaceful. So Mm. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. As we heard, apichatsu durachara, vajidamam anandabha, sadhu revasa mantavya, samyak vyavasita hisa. So, if somebody is situated in devotional service, engaged in devotional service continuously, regularly, then one should be considered definitely above yogis, hmm, above yogis and others. Bhaktas or devotees are topmost. Krishna Bhakta Vadachatur, they are the most clever person in this world. So one who always engaged in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be perfectly saintly person because they are always engaged in devotional service. They are situated in internal potency of Lord. They are really Mahatma. Mahatmas Mam Partha Daivam Prakriti Mash. Daivim Prakriti Mash. They are always situated in the internal potency of Lord. They are perfectly saintly person. They are Mahatma. His accidental non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated without any doubt in complete perfection. So, due to past habits and all, it may take little time for the bad habits to diminish, and it may reoccur. But as one is engaged in devotional service, over the period of time, it will go away. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down. No actual chance to fall down. That is the case of pure devotion, Prabhupada is saying. Because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. He takes care of, he guards his pure devotees. Konteya protejanihi name bhakta pranashyati. He is giving this assurance that his devotees are not perished. So therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in the material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. So therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. So there should not be any indirect process. Krishna consciousness is direct. That's what we should take. Like in a tall skyscraper, there is an elevator uh, and there is a staircase. So if you go by staircase, if it's a 100-story building, you may get tired and you may get distracted to different other places. But devotees are following the path of lift or elevator. It is non-stop and it is directly going from point to point, from one floor to another floor. So there is no distraction in between, and it um, helps us to go back to God very quickly. So that is the glory of devotional service. Pratyaksha avagavam dharmam susukam kartum avyam. It is avyam. Hmm. When we perform devotional service, if we don't get success in this life, in the next life, we continue from where we left off. So there is no loss or denomination in engaging in devotional service. Neham विकर्मनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायना विद्यते स्वल्पमपि धर्मस्य त्रायते महत्. Little bit of devotional service can save one from great danger. So therefore, why not to engage in devotional service when there is all auspicious, all good things can happen by engaging in devotional service. So therefore, we should engage. How we should engage? Manmana bhavamad bhakta majjaji mam namaskaru. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So, these four things we should do, and we should be absorbed in Krishna, then eventually we'll go back to Krishna. So, yeah, sorry for that. Uh, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, so do you have any question?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. So you understood, right? It's very important verse, today's verse.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Then we'll wind up the call here.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for taking the wonderful class.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining the class. Hare Krishna. Srila
Hare
Prabhupada
Krishna.
ki jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.